regards, and I don't see any public comments. The next item is the chair report, my report. And typically I talk about what happened at the last board meeting. Well, at the last board meeting, I was not there because I had gum surgery. But interestingly, I did watch it live stream, which is an admission of just how crazy sometimes you can be as a transit rider or transit. But it appeared interestingly that they covered a lot of the same things that we had actually been presented in our meeting. When I looked at when I watched it and when I looked at the there comes and so if he has any other comments, but basically I saw that on the agenda for the board meeting involved things like well, Debbie Leas did talk about the 2019 budget, which was something we haven't covered here, but then also the community bus plan, which we'd heard about, and the strategic engagement plans from Bob Latcher. We heard those here at our meeting as well. But yeah, was there anything from the board meeting? I'm sorry to put you right on the spot as you walked in, but I was saying I wasn't at the board meeting. But
oh no. Good afternoon, everybody. No, we had a pretty good board meeting, like you said. Bob did a really good job of saying like what you saw, how we do public outreach. Our budget for next year is looking okay. We're having great success, but it's also challenging as far as the financial situation goes with our DART service. We love DART, of course, right? Yeah. And everybody loves DART apparently because it's hitting its record highest ridership ever, and it keeps growing. I think the numbers I just saw today grew again, and that's a challenge financially because unlike our regular bus service, which it doesn't matter if 50 people get on the bus, or one person gets on the bus, it costs us the exact same amount of money to drive that bus down the road. And so we want to get 50 people on the bus because that means we get 50 people paying fares. With DART, it's a little bit different. Almost every trip is a one person in the car, in the vehicle or van. And so we pay for every trip. So the more trips we provide, the more it costs. So we're looking at different strategies and ways to manage that. The other thing that's impacting our budget projection is fuel, which is a good thing because it gets more people to ride the bus because they don't want to pay the higher gas prices, but it's also a bad thing because still some of our buses need some fuel. We're trying to get away from that. So those things happen. I'll just finish my comments by highlighting, and maybe you're going to say something at the end of this, end of the meeting, but on Friday, your fearless chair is going to be featured on the Tampa Bay Transit Forum, this big event that's happening at the airport, the Tampa Airport Marriott, and Gloria is on a panel called Where We Are Right Now, Plans in the Works. Is that one? Or no?
Next one down.
Stop and Grow, How Transit Stops Spur Economic Development.
No, I think it was the second. It was that first one. Yeah, it was the Where We Are Right Now, but it's a variety of different people. Because I talked, Scott Pringle called me this morning and he was saying it's representing what transit means to people around the county.
Yeah.
Or around the region.
Yes.
And so I'm being a transit rider.
I'm sure it'll be very inspired. I mean, I was inspired just hearing what yours was about. That's a bad title for it, but I'm sure she'll do a great job.
Thank you. Well, I'm looking forward to it because the more that we talk with people, the more that, and this involves the business community too, and it's talking about economic development, and that's one of the really, I think, important messages that we as transit riders need to always keep talking about. What we mean to the business community, that they're not just doing us a favor by giving us a ride. By creating this vibrant transit system, we improve the business environment of the region as well. So that's good. Interestingly, a point you said when you talked about the DART ridership affecting the budget, and that when we talk about our safety board, one of the things that every time I hear people talk about DART ridership being up, I keep saying, I know that I could cut my care ride with our ridership in half if there were more safe access to different places that I'm going. There are places I absolutely have to take a care ride because it's unsafe for me to go just using a fixed route bus because of the way the businesses have dealt with it. So when we talk about our safety award, that again becomes a very good point for, you know, helping the budget of PSTA as well. So, okay, well, good. Thank you very much. Just a couple other real quick points. I wanted to say, unfortunately, we are losing a member of our committee. For very good news for her, very bad news for us. Corey is going to be moving to the West Coast, and she's leaving us. So we wish you lots and lots of good luck, but we're going to be sorry to see you go.
Stay active.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other item on my report is that there isn't a report from Forward Pinellas this month because there was no meeting. So I just wanted to let everyone know that that's why it's not on the agenda.
Although I would stress that I will be attending the TBARTA meeting, and everybody should. It's a
Okay,
citizens.
when on Friday?
Yes, so I will see you there, and everyone should come. The free bus fare to get to the airport this month still, and validated parking if you drive your car instead. So you have no reason not to go.
Great, thank you.
There will also be tours of the consolidated rental car facility and the Sky Connect maintenance facility at the airport. So if you're interested, you can sign up for one of those online, or just pop in and see if there's any spaces left for the time to take that tour. But it seems really interesting.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. All right. Then in terms of our first action item would be the approval of our June 19th minutes. Have all of you had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any changes, corrections, additions? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Mark?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now, the second action item is a very important action item for all of us, and that is it is the time for us to review and hopefully approve our first our TRAC Star Award recipient. Now, all of you, I believe, were sent the information, and I think Marianne has given you a hard copy of it again. And I think she gave you also the criteria. Did all of you review the one that was the nominee that we have? And are there any questions about it? Does it meet the criteria? Is there anything? Any comments, thoughts?
I just have one question. You said prior to a major remodel, the center had no safe access. Do you know what inspired them remodeling with the safe access? Is that something like that feeds into the point about they made specific effort to construct or upgrade?
My understanding, and different people have heard some other stories, but it was just a definite remodel. There were some stores that were going out, and they were bringing in some new stores, and they just wanted to upgrade the plaza. And my understanding was that the city asked them to put in safe access to the sidewalk. And I've heard that there's a chance that request actually was somehow fueled by some of the things that their mayor had heard at our board meeting about the safety initiative from the TRAC. I don't know if we can take credit for it or not, but basically I know we can certainly try. And I know that when I saw that had happened, I looked up who the developer was. I contacted them and I said, "How did this come about?" He said, "They simply asked us to do it. They thought it would be a good idea to make it easier for people to get in and out of the plaza." And I know every time I've gone by there and shopped there, I see people using that access route. So it definitely does make it better for a lot of shoppers. And in fact, there's a senior community across the street from them that they now can safely go in and out of the plaza also. And so I guess the next step would be, well, first of all, Cindy, did you have anything you wanted to add on this? they've put together a logo for it, and which I think you all see in there. And this will be presented when if we choose this one today. This will be presented at the next board meeting. And so, I guess the next step is really just to get a vote of all who are in favor. Do I need to get a motion for approval of this? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve this first suggested, recommended TRAC Star Award recipient, Woodland Square. Elizabeth? A second? Makes a motion?
Second.
A second from Teresa? Okay. All in favor of approving Woodland Square as our first recipient? Is anyone opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Thank you. And of course, I don't know if anyone has any comments, but this, I think you all have seen the logo that was developed by the marketing department. It's really beautiful. And I know that Mary Ann worked with them also in terms of, there were some suggestions that came out of their department as well. And I think it's a wonderful look, and I'm hopeful that this will be something that we will see lots of businesses wanting to have. And I look forward to having all of you recommend additional sites when you see them, because I think it can represent a lot of opportunity for us to safely travel places, and also for businesses to better serve the needs of transit riders. Yes, Cassandra?
Cindy, is this application on the website yet?
It is. Yep, the application's on the website now. What Gloria is referring to as a logo, you'll see on the certificate. It's also, I believe, on the form now. If it's not, we're updating the form to add that. And then that star shape that you see will be made into a sticker that can go on if there's actually a shelter at the stop. And then it'll be provided to the recipient as a digital file that they can put on their website. Think of it like the Good Housekeeping seal. So they're getting the TRAC star from you, and that'll be something they can put on their website and celebrate themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting, by the way, we were just talking about this whole award. I would ultimately love to see lots of places be making the changes and then be recommended for this. Our whole goal, really, I believe, is to catch people doing the right thing. And to some degree to encourage them to do the right thing, but also to catch them. And then, so if the entire county ultimately has a whole lot of TRAC stars, that's great. Then we can all safely get everywhere we want to go. Good. Well, thank you. Congratulations to all of us. This was an important move forward from our safety initiative. We actually have moved forward with something that will make a difference.
Sure. I also just want to express my thanks to the TRAC and to Gloria for this amazing idea. I think, maybe Cassandra can correct me, but our idea for really, it's my idea to really promote this as something that TRAC has done, because I think it's so important. I just got back from a family trip to Europe where I didn't take Uber or a taxi one time. I forced my family to take public transit everywhere we went. And I, of course, loved it. I don't know if my family did. But, of course, it's totally easy to take transit when you're in Paris or some European city. Why? Because of the land use. Because of the way the buildings have been built since BC, so it's easy to walk, and it's safe to walk, and it's not really about, it is about the fact that the bus comes every 5 minutes, but it's also about just the way those cities were built, completely different than, say, Palm Harbor. And this award, hopefully, especially in a positive way, can really highlight that. So at the board meeting next week, we're going to invite for the photo, not just PSTA folks, but Whit Blanton, who is the executive director of the Forward Pinellas MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, and hopefully maybe the chair of Forward Pinellas, who is also on the PSTA board, to come to highlight how this is about land use. This is so important to public transit usage in Pinellas County, to make the land use work for public transit. It's really a brilliant thing. So thank you, TRAC.
Well, it was TRAC and it was, I mean, honestly, Cassandra really was a major motive force on this. You know, we would have probably been marching to the gates of different businesses with pitchforks and she says, why don't you get an award and reward the people for doing things right? Okay.
Like a carrot. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, very good. Well, thank you. Okay, that's it for the information items. Our next for the action items. Our next information item is about bus stop and shelter maintenance from Harry Lupin.
Good afternoon. Members of the TRAC Committee, Henry Lukasik, Director of Maintenance. I believe it was out of last month's meeting that the TRAC Committee decided to take up a couple of initiatives, and one of them was to discuss further about shelter upkeep. That's what I'm here to do today, which is to kind of give you a overview of everything that we're doing now, provide some data, and then at the end answer any questions which you may have, or certainly jot down any suggestions of areas that you'd like us to focus specifically more on. So, bus stop cleanliness, shelter upkeep falls under the facilities division of the maintenance department. We have a lot of bus stops here in Pinellas County, well over 4,700, about 530 bus shelters, even more benches. As you know, we have 4 customer service centers, and we do have a couple of park and ride lots. The facilities maintenance division is basically responsible for installation, maintenance, and repair and upkeep of all of our amenities in the field. And for the rest of the discussion, I will refer to amenities as everything that you see at our bus stops. Of course, we rehabilitate our bus stops and our shelters and our terminals over time. And of course, part of that maintenance includes trash removal, cleaning, debris pickup. And of course, when there are service changes, all of the maps, the schedules, the guides that are at the shelters or the bus stops are also updated on annual basis. So how do we do all that? In addition to using internal staff, we also utilize the assistance of contractors out in the field. Our annual budget is approximately $400,000 per year that we spend to upkeep all of our amenities in the field. That's about 30,000 staff hours, and we are out there generally 15 hours a day. Most of those hours are during the overnights when traffic is low, the amount of passengers has stopped for the night, so you don't really see us out there. We do operate a day crew, and that is to handle any issues that we consider of a high priority that may pop up. We do power washing, trash removal. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about trash. We do mowing, edging, and trimming. And of course, we even apply pest control to those locations where we get reports of wasps or insects of that nature. I'm going to throw some data analysis at you. So this graphic shows over the last 2.5 years what mostly we do or what we encounter out in the field. As you can see, it ranges, but our top 3 issues that we consistently find year after year is cleaning up biohazardous material, just cleaning dirty shelters or benches or bus pads, and of course, trash removal. So let's talk for a moment about trash removal, because that is our biggest report. This is a analysis of just the sheer amount of trash that PSTA picks up from our bus stops. I know there's a lot of lines there. You can look at the bottom, but on average, PSTA picks up 220 tons of trash per year. That's 440,000 pounds. That's just out in the field. As you know, our buses also have trash cans on them, so we also collect trash and dispose of that. Now, when I say trash, it's not just paper products, it's also construction waste, it's TVs, appliances, it's a lot of different things that we do find have been placed conveniently next to a PSTA trash can, wherever that may be located. So we do pick a lot of that up. If we're not picking up trash and not cleaning shelters, we do a multitude of other things. As you can see, this is more of the maintenance and repair aspect that we do break out. And again, the top 3 work requests that we receive: fixing poles and signs that may be bent over or faded. We do even more trash can installations, really to address those bus stops that sees an increased amount of trash on the ground, so we place a trash can there. And of course, our biggest work request is keeping those schedules, those signs, and that public information up to date. The next part of the presentation is to talk about some of the new stuff that you see being installed out in the field. Obviously, you've probably seen our new style bus shelters. These are more modern design. And one of the biggest benefits of these particular shelters is that they are lighted and they're done through solar panels. The solar panel is located on the roof and typically throughout the day it charges the batteries and generally lasts all night long. So it's much more effective means of lighting a shelter as opposed to the old design, which is actually having to pipe it into a electrical pole or utility. Here's some before and after examples of locations, high traffic stops that we have taken out the old shelters and installed the new. Tyrone Mall, I remember when I came here 5 years ago, that's what that looked like. This is what it looks like now. And of course, Gateway Mall has been redesigned as well. You also notice we took away the bark mulch and put in rock to try and keep that area a little cleaner. In addition to that, we are now on our 4th generation of trash can. We try different things to try and curb some of the more interesting things that we find in the trash. The big belly, as you know, are trash compactors. Those pretty much go into our high traffic stops. This was the 1st generation trash can, and there's still a lot of them out there, and the biggest complaint that we get is that the trash bag blows upward or the trash bag is completely gone. We tried this trash can here, trying to keep large waste out of it. That one was not generally too successful, as the top portion of the lid would disappear magically or become damaged.
Oh.
This is the latest generation, an all plastic trash can. Kind of combines all of the designs of the other 3, and so far it's been pretty effective. Other stuff that we do that's not as impressive as a bus shelter per se is we have newer style benches that are made of all plastic. They last a long time as opposed to wooden benches, which do degrade. Some folks have seen the semi seats. These are for stops that do not have a lot of high ridership, but certainly benefits from a place where people can at least sit and wait for the bus. It also incorporates the sign into a single unit, and for those stops that have a lot of ridership where people utilize bicycles, we do have bike racks out there where people can safely secure their bike. Also, we, PSTA, has gone ahead and where needed, and we're still doing this right now, we call these curb cuts, landing pads, or access ways. So this is specifically going out to locations and improving the ability to either get to the stop or get to the shelter. This was a completely new ADA acceptable curb cut from the crosswalk to the shelter. In this location, we went ahead and put an access way over this runoff ditch. This was all brand new to provide access to the corner, and this curb cut right here was poured just to provide easier access to the shelter. So we have a lot of those projects in the works, and it's something that we complete year to year. Switching gears, let's talk about terminal maintenance. So Grand Central Station, Pinellas Park Transit Center, Park Street, I'm sure I'm missing one, Largo Commons, Tyrone Mall, all of those locations. We have increased coverage of janitorial service, more hours to keep the restrooms open, keep them clean, keep them operational. We do power wash those platforms weekly. We are going through and updating the perimeter lighting to LED, much more efficient, lasts longer, certainly brighter. We've increased security at the terminals, and the greatest example of that is the St. Petersburg Resource Center that is located at Grand Central Station. As I'm sure all of you have heard or seen or read about, Breathe Easy zones have been going in at several of our major terminals. Up at the top is Grand Central Station. This is the latest installation at Pinellas Park Transit Center. The Breathe Easy Zone is PSTA's way of basically keeping the terminals as smoke-free as we possibly can, all the while giving people who do smoke a place to do it. We have a Breathe Easy Zone installed right outside at our lay-by, and we plan on installing a Breathe Easy Zone at the Walmart in Largo on the platform. Other potential areas could be Tyrone Mall platform, possibly another Breathe Easy Zone at Pinellas Park Transit Center, and I shouldn't forget that there is a Breathe Easy Zone installed at Park Street. Public involvement. So one of the biggest questions is, how do I report an issue at a stop or a shelter or wherever as I'm out riding the bus? Well, there's a lot of different ways that you can make a report to us that come to our attention in facilities maintenance. See, click, fix. I'm sure we've all seen that. We've heard about it. That's a great way to make a report. You can make an online request. If you do happen to send it to a municipality as opposed to PSTA, rest assured it does get back to us. And vice versa, if there's something that is reported, such as a pothole in the street, we also make that report to wherever that pothole is located so that city can fix it. There's our website, psta.net. You can fill out a customer service form. Our social media platforms, another great avenue. Of course, you can still pick up the phone and call customer service, and they will take your information and immediately issue a report to facilities. And if you're at one of our major terminals or customer service centers, all that listed there, you can certainly walk up to the window and they can take your information there. Rest assured, the other question that I get is this, so how do I make the report? Well, who gets the report and how long does it take to do something about it? So the answer to that is, as soon as you file a report, it's automatically generated and it comes to the facilities division. Our goal turnaround time is roughly 24 hours, depending upon the nature of the report. If it's trash cleanup, we get out there very quickly. If it's a request to add a stop or add a shelter, or we need to replace a shelter, that generally takes a little bit more time. But our goal is very quick response and turnaround. Really, the moral I'd like to leave here is that when you report something, we listen to it and we do something about it. And at that point, I'd be happy to take any questions.
The public involvement could it be possible for this to be on the buses as well in the display thing, so people know where to go? You know, see something, if you see something out of line, here's how to contact us.
Certainly, it could be yes. We could definitely look at that. Always, your bus operator is another way for you to communicate an issue. But we can definitely look at that.
Yeah, because, I mean, we know, but do the people that are riding know?
Good point.
Yes.
I've not really thought about it. How many facilities have restrooms? I know Grand Central, Clearwater,
Park Street, Grand Central,
Pinellas Park.
Pinellas Park Transit Center.
I gotta say, Henry, I have called in on a number of things, and the response time of PSTA is so much better than any other anything I've ever called. I mean, it's like within 24 hours to 48 hours, it's like, I'll say, oh, you know what, there really ought to be a bench there. And all of a sudden, there's a bench there. Or somebody has put a bench in the wrong spot, and all of a sudden, the bench is moved to the right spot. And it's like, I just find, oh, I know, there was one right by Meese Hospital where mud was filling in this little gully where you would have to drive. I called it in, and I swear it was 24 hours later, it had been totally cleared out. It's like, no one is as responsive as you are, so thank you, thank you very much.
Thank you for that compliment. I have a great staff in facilities maintenance. Adelia Robles is really the person who is behind taking care of this and all of the amenities. She works very well with prioritizing work requests, working with our subcontractors to get them out there, and really does a great job following up to make sure that the work is been done. And she also spends a considerable amount of time on the road, just personally looking at some of the issues that get reported to us. So the credit goes to the staff, and I'll pass that compliment
They're
along.
wonderful, thank you. Yes.
How do you decide where the shelters are placed versus a bench, or is it based on ridership?
So ridership is a good, what we call key performance indicator to determine that. So we have the ridership, and then the next step is basically to take a look at the area itself. Some locations, while they do have high ridership, there's just no space to add a shelter. And then, of course, we look at whether or not it's in the right-of-way, which is easier for us to install a shelter in. And if it's private property, we can work with that owner to secure an easement. So there's a bit of a process, but it is ridership.
I'll say I'm impressed by this continuous improvement, which is a hallmark of a great run operation. Seeing you try different things, and as they work, improve them, better things. The LED bus stop, I told this story. I was out the night after the hurricane. The entire town was dark. There were certain little lights, and as we came upon them, they were the LED bus stops. It was fantastic. The only lights in the county were yours. They were really great. I guess they were ours.
That's right.
Thank you. Look for more LED retrofits in the future. I don't have to sell LED technology nowadays. So.
LED solar, that combination is magical.
Absolutely.
Any other comments, questions?
Well, I just want to say something. I was at the VA, and you have the new bus shelters, and I swear I was the only one. I know I'm right next to the VA, but I was the only one there at night, and it was so well lit. It just made me feel safe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you know, traveling by myself a lot, especially at night, I usually end up half the time the only one at the bus stop.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have those lights, so I feel a little more, you know. So
Security and safety is very
yeah.
important.
So thank you.
Glad you felt that way. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, and then yeah, thank you. Okay, and then the next information item is from Cindy Raskin-Schmidt. She's going to talk about service change and communication.
Good afternoon. I'm Cindy Raskin-Schmidt. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing here at PSTA. You all recall last month we came and talked to you about how we inform riders about detours, and I promised to come back and talk to you about how we inform riders about service adjustments and service changes. So we have a little presentation here for you to talk about that. And there we go. Thank you, Henry. So, service changes, as riders, you all already know, I think you probably already know most of what I'm going to tell you because you've seen everything, but just so you're aware of the full list, we do service changes 3 times a year, usually February, June, and October, and we use that as an opportunity to make adjustments to times, make adjustments to routing. It gives us an opportunity to introduce new service, sometimes remove service, but most of the time, it's small changes here and there that adjust running times to make for better, more efficient service that's going where people need to go. So 3 times a year, we have a whole process in place where we get the information from the scheduling department, we make the schedules, we make the boards that go in the shelters, and there's a whole bunch of other things we do too. So as we're finding out what those changes are, the specific changes, we look at a list of questions that we answer to help us determine which tools we're going to need to inform you about those changes. What are the changes? What are the routes that are affected? How big is the change? Is it a small change here or there, or is it a huge change that's going to affect a lot of people and a lot of routing changes? Will we need to have ambassadors at bus stops or at bus stations? Will we need to have sandwich board signs so that it's very, very obvious as people walk up to those spaces that something is happening? Get your attention, let you know there's a change coming. So this is just an example of some of the list of some of the questions that we ask. A lot of times we'll look for other partners to help us share messages as well, especially if it's something fun and exciting like introducing new service. So we have lots of tools and materials that we use. Of course, the timetables, which I mentioned. The posters that are in the shelters, we call those departure boards because it shows you the different times that the bus departs. Behind the driver notices go in all the buses to let you know there's a change coming up. We send email through our email list. We have a page on our website, usually at least a week beforehand, that will give you all of the new schedules before they're actually printed and effective, so you can start planning your trips. Social media, and then of course press. We try to get press involved, especially if it's introducing new service or a big change like the 300X that we just did. Lots of press coverage about that new service at the airport, so that's a great way to let people know there's a change coming. We also have the bus stop signs, the little stickers that are on those signs with the route number. Henry's team updates those. If you have a bus that's rerouted that now is serving a new bus stop, that sticker needs to be added. If it's no longer serving a previous bus stop, that sticker needs to be removed or covered up. So that's pretty time intensive. We also have the ability to do the real-time text messaging to tell people there's a change. The engagement ambassadors, as I said before, that's Bob Lasher's team that will go out and talk to people one-on-one, informing them about the changes. And then of course, a big thing too is internal training, making sure that our customer service representatives understand what the changes are, and of course our bus drivers. So that's a pretty big list of all the different ways that we reach out and give you all the information about the service changes. If you have any questions?
The next ones would be in October, right?
October, yes.
Do we know yet what any of those are going to be, or?
We know there's going to be some circulator service in downtown St. Pete. The looper that's down there is going to be realigned to match up with some of the recommendations from the circulator study that Cassandra's team did. That's going to be very, very cool. You guys are going to like that. I'm not sure specifically what else. I know that one's coming. That's a big one. So.
A suggestion I made before is within the hubs, often there will be a system-wide map, and I don't know, I'm a little dyslexic, it's hard for me to follow. I wish when I got to Grand Central or Pinellas Park or Park Street that there was a "you are here" kind of map, that you don't show me the 61, but just show me from here, these are the buses that go where. Because sometimes I miss the last bus to Largo, but if I took one to Pinellas Park, that I could call my son and get me home, that kind of stuff. It would involve you having a unique map for each of the hubs that just showed these are the routes that leave here, or maybe in conjunction with the others, because I might be looking for a...
So you think it's a map that would be helpful? Because you know the schedules that are posted are specific to that location.
Yes, but I'm
You think a map
very
would be more
graphic
helpful?
because I'm trying to get to a dinner, or I'd like someone to pick me up. Or usually I'm south and I'm just trying to get towards Safety Harbor.
Gotcha.
I have a lot of people that if I get close enough to Safety Harbor, they'll come and get me, or they'll meet me at McDonald's or some such. And it's just, I miss this bus. Well, there's one there, and there's a Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe I'm an unusual user that it's I can get close enough.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's a pretty big scale, and we try to be efficient with it. But some of the bigger stations, we could definitely look at.
Yeah,
doing
it would be
something
only
like
the
that.
hubs, Grand Central,
Yeah.
Park Street, and often there's two routes that run down the same street and then split, and I'm not sure where they do. And so graphics just help me. And when I look at the large map, there's so much on it, it's confusing. And so that's why I talk about a kind of a "you are here" map.
Right.
That only says these are the buses that are leaving. Then I can go look at the schedule, see when
Gotcha.
does this one leave next.
Yeah, we could take a look at that.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. It's a neat idea.
That's also something I found to use the transit app.
Oh, yeah.
has informed me about different routes, because it pops up all your alternatives.
Absolutely.
But I didn't want to disagree with the map, of course, that'd be very helpful as well.
Absolutely.
And I also wanted to second what you had to say, because in, major cities like New York City, in their transit, as you're coming out of out of either the subway or something, they do have those, you are here, go up here to get this bus, and this bus goes this way, and it, I have run into people who are traveling here and maybe not realizing that our infrastructure's a little lacking, and so they're not sure how to get where, and they don't know to get the app and
Right.
things like that.
Okay,
Yeah, it's kind of a neat
good
idea.
ideas. We'll take a look at that.
Any other comments? Oh,
All right, well, thank you all. So, oh, sorry.
I was in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower in Paris and arguing with my family whether we were going to take this bus or have to walk. And I pulled up the transit app, and it worked. And then,
In Paris?
Oh, yeah.
The actual
yeah,
transit app?
yeah.
Oh, no
And I was
way.
like, oh man, the bus is not coming for like 18 minutes. And then this French woman started speaking to me in French, which I didn't understand. But then she was like, no, it's coming. And I was like, no, it's not. Transit app. She did not believe in the transit app. She's French or something, but I was right.
That's great.
I told the transit app people that.
That's funny, that's interesting.
Great. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, another, well, I think the next item then is just member comments. Does anyone on the committee have any comments that they'd like to make?
I just want to say, when I got your recommendation, I actually went. I didn't take the bus, but my sister lives off of Curlew, so we went up that way, and I checked it out. That's
Oh, really?
nice.
Isn't that good
It's
what they do
really,
there?
really
Well,
nice.
Interestingly, that particular site is not an easy one to get to by bus. I mean,
I
to
know.
get there by bus, it's the connector, and the connector on Tampa Road. But, or else you have to go quite a distance up to catch.
Yeah, no, I would do 3
62.
buses in order to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's on Tampa Road, but that's okay. I mean, the fact is, once I get off, I have no problem getting into it. I mean, that's the big deal, and it was nice. I really, I knew where it was, so I
Yes,
went.
Yeah, no,
you know?
thank you, that was good. Any other comments? Yes, Dave?
It's my intent, now that this has been, I think, firmed up, to roll it out on Facebook to all my friends, although I've been looking, and it's hard for me to find something that I know what it was before and after, but let's send out all of our friends as investigators, or, to sniff out anything like that. And I think getting them looking for, what we're trying to do is just raise transit awareness and get good citizens. So I intend to roll this out, especially, what a beautiful logo. I can just picture that as a Facebook post saying, hey, are you look for this? See, let's reward people that are doing the right thing. So I'd encourage all of you to do that.
We'll be working through the Planning Advisory Committee, which is
Right.
Committee of Cities at Forward Pinellas. And so they talk a lot about the land use issues in the county. And so we've already talked to Whit about bringing this issue to that committee as well. So I think we'll try to get the word out through the cities as well. And hopefully they'll nominate as they get new developments.
This is a great idea.
Well, it's interesting because I'm also, I'm involved with the Complete Streets program for Clearwater. And I was talking with a new gentleman that they have there, and he said something about, well, do transit riders even, kind of care about the safety of the sidewalks, or do they even talk about these things? And I went, I can't believe you're mentioning this, but I'm now that we have approved this, or when the program is launched, I'm going to send him the information on this. We need to, and what I said to them at that is, we need to look at making sure that our city codes are the call for this, so that when a new store opens, that our city codes say, you need to have access to the sidewalk. You can't open that new store. Right now, Whole Foods on US 19, there is literally no way that I can shop there any longer, because now that Sears is closed, I can't even go through the mall to Sears. So I literally would have to go in car lanes, and I can't, so I can't ever shop there.
Right.
And they should have put in a walkway in their codes. Any other thoughts, comments? Yes.
ideas. And they looking to me because they know I'm on track. But then what do I do with their ideas? You know, and they're looking at things and, you know, this needs to change, or I tried to tell them this and I don't know. So what do I tell the drivers? I can't, you know, where can they contact you guys? Can they do an email?
Yes, so there's a couple of different ways that we communicate with operators. Certainly, if you have something that you thought was a good idea that you heard from an operator, I would love to hear it. We have what's called a behind the wheel notice, and it's a little sheet that they can fill out, and so we get those, and we have a goal in our department to do a 3-day response time on those. So if they fill out one of those behind the wheel, that's what things are called.
It's behind the driver notice.
No, it's not the behind the driver notice.
I think it's behind the wheel.
Behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's like a card.
It's like a little card, right? And then we get emails from folks. So if they told a supervisor, then sometimes the email will come that way to, and depending on what it is, sometimes it'll go to amenities, sometimes it'll go to scheduling. So it just depends on what the idea is. We also meet with the union about every 2 weeks to talk about upcoming service changes and some things that we'll do this service change, some things we'll do next service change. So if there are concerns about having enough time, recovery time at the end, or we watch our data on on-time performance, and so we have some anecdotal data from the operator, and then we have hard data from our systems on board that we'll try to match up so we can make changes from service change to service change.
And any feelings they have about it, they have that would be a suggestion box.
Well, I mean, it's more than a suggestion box. I mean, our scheduling team can go over and sit in the driver's lounge from time to time. I mean, so we do make ourselves accessible to folks.
But as a track member, you can tell anyone, any PSTA person that you know, and we'll. Or you can just even if you want to be agnostic whether you like the idea or not, you can just say that. This is what the operator suggested.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I can also add, along with the Complete Streets in Clearwater, I attended a meeting. Anyone who's in mid-county, Dunedin has just kicked off a project for Complete Streets on Skinner Boulevard, which runs parallel to Main, and they stopped and made sure to mention that they are leaving cutouts for the buses. It's one of these where they're bringing 2 lanes down to 1 to let people have room to walk and shop. They said, and we're going to make sure we have cutouts so that when a bus stops, that's one of the complaints. There's Complete Streets on MLK going on right now in St. Pete, and there's pushback back from the same people who ran no tax for tracks, that you're going to shut our neighborhood down. We need to get those cars through there. We love car sewers. You know, you're going to kill these businesses. So we need, as transit riders, to come back and say, no, we want neighborhoods. And so this is a time for neighbors who live along North St. Pete, MLK, folks who live in Clearwater, folks who live in Dunedin, to get out and get participatory. We seem to be up.
What part of 9th Street? Because I live off of 9th Street in St. Pete. What part of it?
From 5th North all the way to about 45th.
Okay, I'm
It's
further
the
north.
30th Ave North.
Okay.
Is it to 30th?
Yeah, because 30th they just put in
Right.
bike lanes there, and so that's connecting it with that. It's going to add 90 seconds onto the
Right.
commute.
But again, people like to
Wow.
use the scare tactic, you know.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of scare tactics, and that they're going to try and turn that back using scare tactics.
Yeah, and I heard this morning that the businesses there, but this is, like you said, happening in Largo and Clearwater and Dunedin. Also the same, and across the country.
Yeah.
Businesses have come out and are saying that they're opposed and they want the traffic to move much faster. And Councilwoman Rice told me this morning that it's been incredible the response from the residents and others, even in an organized way, saying no, we get scared if we're walking there or biking there. We can't bike there, and it's been a pretty large response in favor of slowing down the traffic. So I don't know if that's the same case in all the other cities.
Well, in Dunedin, we had a guy from George Young Company, held up a picture from 1956 or 65 of downtown Dunedin when it was 2 lanes and the average speed was 40, and all of those businesses were either out of business or, ticky-tacky, and now it's Casatina and Black Pearl, and
Yeah.
I can't afford to shop in Dunedin. I mean, it is so high-end because it's 1 lane and slow, and they have all those festivals. By taking that lane out, Dunedin, it took about 10 years for it to roll over, and so there's a leap of faith that when you come down and you make it a neighborhood and a destination, it'll work. But and so he held up that picture and said, "Who remembers this?" And all the long-term residents said, "Yeah." Well, that's what we're trying to do with Skinner as well, with organization, a roundabout and a bus lane and some parking, and oh my God, golf carts. Everyone talked about golf carts because it's Dunedin, but and we're smart people. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. Get involved in your neighborhoods. That's what I'm trying to say. We're smart people.
Any other comments? One other future, did you want to talk about well, my understanding is that in August is when we need to start getting new recruits for next year's Transit Riders Committee. Several of us are going to be termed out. I will be termed out. And we will need to have whoever wants to be next year's chair and co-chair as well. So those will be important issues that'll happen in our August meeting.
So in August, we'll lay out the schedule for recruitment. If you are at the end of your first term, we'll let you know, and you'll be eligible to reapply. So we'll let you know if you're in that position, and we hope that you will reapply. But we do ask that you do that. We have had people at some point say, I think I'm done. I want to finish my term, and other people who say, yes, I want to reapply. So we make that part of the process. But you'll get a notice if you're in that position.
Okay. Now, if we've done our second term, how long of a sabbatical do we need to take before we can reapply?
That is an excellent question, and one that we have not discussed. Perhaps it is something that we should consider bringing up in the bylaws.
10 minutes.
Yeah. You and I have both been double, terms, that's right.
2 terms.
Well, I think that is it, unless there are any other comments. Yes.
Just before you adjourn, I just want to say thank you so much for being so positive. We reconstructed this Riders Committee in 2014 to have a different makeup, because we had a Transit Advisory Committee, but it was people who came and just complained. And so the way that we restructure it and the positive nature of the folks that are applying for this newly formed committee is really encouraging, because not only do we hear compliments sometimes, which is very nice, but you all have some really great ideas, and I think Brad said it very well. This Star Award is really a big deal, and it's something that we wouldn't have come up with ourselves. And so I just want to reiterate our thanks for being positive and constructive. Thank you.
It works well in both directions, because we wouldn't have come up with it all by ourselves either. And so I think PSTA has helped us to create the avenue for what we know we want as riders.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, well, good. Well, thank you very much. And our next meeting will be on August 14th. And thank you very much for attending. Oh, and if you can come to the board meeting next Wednesday, will be when we launch the Star Award for the board.
You should go online on our website.
Yes, yes, record.
And apply that way.
Highest ever.
Because that was saying as the public vehicles.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
for this job, I
Yeah.
would definitely do a cover letter, and then you would call you and let you know that I applied.
Or email me, and then I'll make sure that it's like.
I don't, I
"Hey,"
hope,
because I'm on
no, I don't
the
think so.
HR account.